I found a car, but I don't know if buying is the best deal for me, or financing it, or simply just leasing it. Hi guys, I'm Sharon, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. So I am a chartered accountant by profession. So today I want to give you my own accountant view on how to approach buying your next car. So with me in 2012, I bought my very first car, which was a Polo VW, and then it was financed through my bank. So my bank is Investec, so they are the one who financed the car, and then the deal that they gave me was for over a period of 5 years. And then I paid for that car, and I own that car. I've been having that car. I still have it to this day. It's not giving me issues, and I've driven a lot. It has like a high mileage. And then in 2016 I also got a car, but my plan was to get a lease on the car. And then when I got to the dealer, there was a car on the floor which was a BMW 4 Series, and they were saying that they don't do a lease on that particular car, but this car does have like a residual. And then if I wanted to pay a deposit, I could pay the deposit, and then it was being financed over a period of 72 months. But it also does have like the residual, and it was being financed by the dealer, by BMW themselves. So I tried to approach my bank to help me with the deal, but the bank said that they don't do residual. So it also meant that if I were to do it via my own bank, I would have to be paying a lot of money, because it wouldn't be having the residual aspect. So I would have to be pumping up high premiums per month. So that was the second thing. And then last year in 2022, my husband bought a 4 Series, the latest 4 Series at that time, and then the deal that he got is like a lease. So I think I am quite experienced in all these three, so I can be able to explain it better to you if you are considering which one might be best suited for you. Yes, I've also made my own financial mistakes, because sometimes as humans, yes, though we do have the knowledge, the accounting knowledge, if you really like something, you just like something. But with me, the BMW that I bought, I made serious losses with it. I made massive losses with it. I wanted to keep it for a short time. I think I didn't really even think of, do I want to be owning it or not? But I only kept it for 3 years, and then I decided to sell it, and then there was also a shortfall. So at the end of this transaction, I had made so much losses, but had I gone with the option of leasing the car, I would have saved myself a lot of money. So that's why it's important to do the consideration first. So when you are thinking in terms of whether you should be buying a car, whether you are buying it outright purchase, whether cash, or you want to be owning it, or you want to be leasing it, the first consideration that you should have is, how long do you want to keep the car for? How long do you want to keep it for? Do you want to own it like the Polo? I'm still owning it. 10 years later, I'm still owning the Polo. Or you think to yourself, do you want to be driving a new car every 3 years? Do you want to have that flexibility? So if you do want to have that flexibility, maybe don't even think of the owning option. And also think in terms of flexibility, in terms of mileage, because sometimes with leasing, it can come with those restrictions of mileage. Do you want to have restrictions in terms of your mileage? And also think in terms of, if you want to be modifying your vehicle, if you want to be doing those modifications to your vehicle, it might not be possible when it's still being a lease, or when it is under finance, because you can lose the warranty. So it's important to have those considerations in terms of what do you want to be using the car for. And then another important consideration is in terms of your affordability. Can you really afford Do you have the cash now to be buying this vehicle? Are you willing to be saving up money for the next 5 years, or should you just be buying this vehicle today and then you are paying over the next 5 years than committing yourself to be saving maybe over the next 5 years and only driving your dream car maybe after 5 years, and by then more things are expensive. You can see how these cars are really fluctuating. Every year they are going up, so sometimes it even becomes like difficult now to say that you are going to be saving money to be buying the car cash. So let's talk about the 3 different ways on how you can be buying your car, and also what are the advantages and disadvantages of each option. And I'm also going to be giving you a calculation at the end so that you can be able to see. But just know that many of these calculations are based on assumptions and are based on the timing and are based on the interest rates that you are getting. They are based on your credit score, so it can be difficult to know which is right. And it's also based on the market value of the cars. How much will the cars sell for, or what kind of deal are you going to get? So know that the calculations are based on a different set of assumptions. So I am an accountant based in South Africa, but I will try by all means to be giving like US dollar examples when I'm doing my examples. So here are the 3 different types of ways that you can be buying your car. So the first one is an outright purchase. So when you go with an outright purchase, it means that you're simply taking out the cash and then just buying that particular car. You are not really financing the car, so you are just buying that particular car. So I've seen some people going for such. Maybe if you do have savings, or if you do have like a lump sum, or maybe if it's your parents or someone buying you the car, they can decide that they are just giving you the money to buy that particular car. But I've also seen people who do an outright purchase, but they go to some banks and then they borrow like money, but it becomes unsecured. And you find that with unsecured funding, it's quite high. The interest rates that they are going to charge you, it's quite high. And you find that this person now is paying for this loan over 2 years or 3 years, and you find that you are paying a lot because the loan is not secured by that vehicle. It's just a loan that you went and taken up with the bank, and it becomes quite expensive, which I sometimes feel like it's not a good move. But that is why it's important to do those calculations. So the advantages of buying a car is that buying a car cash is that ownership flows to you right away. You don't even have to wait until the car is settled. Once you buy it, the car is registered in your name. The car is completely yours. Second advantage is that there's no restrictions when it comes to mileage. So you can do as many kilometers or as much miles as you want per year without worrying what the dealership is going to be saying. And then also another advantage is that you don't have that stress of fluctuations in interest rates, or maybe after losing your job you are worried how are you going to be able to pay off your car. So you don't really have to worry about those monthly commitments because you are already, the car is already paid up. And also if you are someone who wants to be doing modifications on your car, you don't have to worry about that. You can do modifications on your car because the car is already yours, so you can make the changes however you want. And obviously anything that has advantages also has its own disadvantages. So because you'll be putting in a lot of cash up front, it means that there is an opportunity cost. You are missing out on this cash generating you other money now. So that is the disadvantage, because now you won't be able to use this money for other things. Now all your cash, it's tied up to this one particular asset. Now you've taken something that you could have paid for over 5 years and pay it already in year 1. And then another disadvantage might be that you might make a loss in the transaction if you decide to sell earlier this car, or if you come to year 2 or you come to year 4 and you decide that no, you no longer want to keep this particular car and you sell it. You might end up making a loss. You might realize that someone maybe who was leasing the car did not spend as much money as you. Like in my case, I felt like I made a loss in the Polo, because with my Polo, though I bought it, I tried to pay it in a short amount of time. I tried to pay it over 3 years. Like I was saying to myself that I'm trying to save on interest, but fortunately I did not sell it. I feel like I've made value in this car for all the years that I've kept it, because even if I were to sell it today, I can still sell it at a good price. But with certain cars, it is not possible. And then the second option when it comes to buying a car, you can opt for leasing. leasing the car. So when you are leasing the car, it's like you're just paying to be using the car. You're not really paying to be owning the car. So also how they do the calculation or how they come up with your monthly installment for leasing, it's quite different from when you are actually want to be owning the car or financing the car, because now you are not really paying anything towards the capital. You are just paying for the use, you are just paying for the depreciation. So normally in the agreement you'll find that yes, there is the initial cost, all those costs that you're going to be adding onto the car, and then they say that the car has a guaranteed residual value. So they'll say that maybe after the period, after that 36 months or after those 48 months, this is the guaranteed residual value. So this is how much they expect the car to be worth at that particular time, now when your agreement is over. So it means that on that particular, on the guaranteed residual value, you're not really being charged on it, which is a good thing. That is why you sometimes find that with leasing it becomes quite cheaper. So the first advantage of leasing is that leasing is shorter. You might find that it's 36 months or sometimes it's even 48 months, which is a bit shorter than your normal finance, because some financing it can be like 72 months. So but with leasing it's quite shorter, meaning that it has more flexibility. So if you want to be changing your car every 3 years, it's quite possible to be changing your car every 3 years because it is quite flexible. And you also find that with the installments, you are going to be paying a lower installment for leasing, unlike if you are financing your vehicle. And also another advantage is that you don't need to be saving up a lot of money up front, so you can be able to drive a car that you would not normally afford. That's another advantage with leasing. And number 4 is that you don't have to worry about the hassles of selling a car, because sometimes, you know, if you have to sell a car, you might struggle to find a buyer, or someone who wants to buy might buy it at a low price, and then now you still find that you are still owing the dealership. But you don't have to stress about such when you are leasing the car. And then number 5 is that you have more money to be using towards other opportunities that can even give you better returns, because you don't have to be putting up all your money up front towards this car. And then the consequences of leasing a car, first is that there is no ownership. It means that the car can never be yours. And then number 2, there is restrictions on mileage. So they might restrict you in terms of the mileage that you can do for the duration of the contract, and if you go above that mileage, now you have to incur those penalties. And then number 3 is that at the end of the lease term, you are returning the car, meaning that you'll be left with no car. So it means that you have to buy another car from scratch or enter into another lease agreement, and chances are that now you'll even be paying more money because the prices of the cars would have been inflated now. And then number 4, the disadvantage is that you can't modify this car because it is a leased car. It is not your own car, so you can't modify it. So the third option in terms of buying a car, it's a hire purchase agreement. In some places they call it an installment sale agreement. So with this one, as the name says for itself, it's higher. It's like a combination of leasing, but you can own at the end after you are done paying all those installments. So when I initially bought my Polo, things were straightforward. There was no balloon payment because the cars then were not really priced so high, so there was not really a balloon payment. But now you find that these cars that we are driving nowadays, they are priced so high that it makes it impossible now to be affording those monthly payments, especially if you are going to be buying a brand new car. It makes it a bit difficult to afford those monthly installments. So now there's something called a balloon payment. So now when you are going to be paying for that car every month, so when they calculate your installment, they'll calculate it without that balloon payment. So if they say that maybe your car is $30,000, and then they say that maybe after year 6, the guaranteed residual value or this market value of the car after year 6, it will still have retained this much value. Maybe they say that the car would have still retained 10,000 value, it would have retained 10,000 value. So when they calculate the installments that you have to be paying on that particular car, you'll have to be paying like installments for the 30,000 less that 10,000, which is the 20,000. However, because there's someone who is funding that particular 10,000, there is interest on it, so interest still needs to be paid on it. Although you won't be paying any money towards reducing the capital balance of that $10,000, there is still interest that you are going to still be charged every month on that particular amount. So that's why you still find that financing is a bit more expensive. So you find that if the deal maybe is 72 months, they'll calculate how much you are going to be paying over those 72 months, and then now come into month 72, they are going to want you as well to be paying that particular 10,000. So you'll pay that final installment plus that particular $10,000. But chances are most people don't really save for that particular amount. Some people just tell themselves that when the period comes, they'll just trade in that particular car and get another car. And then other people, they try and refinance that amount, so they get another loan so that they can be able to refinance that amount. So maybe now they get a loan that's able to help them refinance that amount over 12 months or over 24 months. So it means that now this particular car that you've had, now you've financed it over 9 years. So that's what financing is. So that's why you find that along the way, people's decisions might change. You might feel like you no longer want to own the car. Maybe now the car is giving you some problems. You feel like it's not the right kind of car to be owning. That's when now you find that you want to be selling this particular car so that you can come out of that particular finance agreement. And then you find that now when you are selling that particular car, the money that you are selling it for, it's not even the market value of the particular car or the amount that you are still owing the bank. And it means that you will have to be financing that shortfall. So that's also what happened with me. I bought the car using such a deal, my BMW in 2016 using such a deal. After 3 years, I was like, no, I don't like paying this installment. I'm not even using the car. I feel like I am paying so much money. And then when I went to the dealership, they said they can only take the car for a low amount. I realized that the amount is way too low. I had to sell it privately. I sold it privately, but I still had a shortfall and I had to pay that particular shortfall so that the car is no longer under my name. I no longer owe for the car. But for the next car I will go with, because I already know that I don't want to be owning a car. Some cars are difficult to maintain. Yes, the Polo, the VW Polo, it's quite easy to maintain, but when it comes to the maintenance of the Beamer, I don't know the right people to be handling such things. Or the Mercedes, I don't know the people to help me maintain my car at a cheaper cost. So obviously I won't want to be driving for so long. So chances are I will go with a lease when it comes to it, but you must assess your own situation. So what is the benefits of a hire purchase agreement is that after you are done settling, after you are done with your debt commitment, ownership does transfer to you. And also another advantage is that there is no mileage restrictions because it's not a lease, so no mileage restrictions. You can drive however. And then another advantage is that not a lot of money is required upfront, unlike if maybe you are buying outright. So that's the good thing. So you still have cash to be using for other things, so you are able to be affording a car that you wouldn't really be able to afford. And then the consequences is obviously the interest rates, they keep fluctuating. So chances are that if the interest rate go up, it means your installment as well is also going to be increasing. And 6 years is just quite a long time. You never know what can happen in 6 years. So you must always just make sure that you have that buffer, you have that surplus, so that even if things do increase, you can still afford your premiums. And then also, I've mentioned already, you might incur losses now when you decide to come out of the deal, you decide to sell the vehicle, or you decide to take it back to the dealership. You might incur some losses, and also you have to deal and properly prepare for the balloon payments, which is something that people don't normally prepare for. So the good thing with leasing is that you don't have to be settling that particular balloon payment. So maybe you might also be asking yourself, should you be trading in your car when you want to buy another car? So in my case, I still have the Polo. So if I were to think about trading in my Polo, I would first get how much am I going to get if I decide to sell the car privately, and also how much is the dealership going to be offering me for the trade in. Because sometimes when now the car is fully paid up, they don't really pay you the market value of your car, or they don't pay you a good value for your car when it's already fully paid up. But when it's not fully paid up, they might try by all means to cover up the amount that you are still owing on the car. But when it comes to leasing, if you do have a fully paid up car, I wouldn't suggest that you trade in your car, because it's like after 3 years of leasing, you no longer have your car. You've lost the car that you fully paid up for, plus also now you don't even have a car at all. So sometimes trading in is not a good idea, but it is a good idea if maybe your car is still owing and they are willing to cover everything up for you, and you don't want to have that burden of paying up for 2 cars. So that's how I would approach trading in when it comes to the car. And also in terms of deposit, try to use those financial calculators, those auto loan calculators, to see how much are you saving when you are putting up that deposit. Because I saw with when I put up the deposit on my BMW, I actually made a loss. I felt like I shouldn't even have put up that deposit, because it didn't really do much of a difference, reduce in the areas where I wanted it to reduce. So sometimes paying up that deposit might not be a good idea. Rather take your lump sum, invest it somewhere and make a positive return. But also when you are buying a car, also just compare the cost. How much interest are they charging you? Are the different dealerships charging you different amounts? Consider those things when you are leasing. How much are they charging you? Because the interest plays a huge role. So if you can negotiate for lower interest than higher interest, because they make a huge difference. And also when it comes to the term of the loan, or the term of the leasing, that also plays a difference as well. That can also impact on your installment amount or on the interest that you end up paying, because when the loan it's longer, now the interest that you are paying on it becomes as well even a bit higher, but it reduces your installments. But at the end of the day, you've paid more interest. So you need to be doing those calculations so that you can see which one works out for you. So different deals work out differently. The decision is up to you. So let's assume that you want to buy this RAV4 XLE, and then we'll assume that the cost price is $34,000. So if you choose the option to buy outright, so just using cash to purchase it, so this is the very first column. So yes, it will cost you the $34,000. There will be 0 installment that you are expected to pay every month, and you won't be paying any interest, but there'll be opportunity costs. So if maybe you know other ways of getting a return elsewhere, whether through investment or other things, that's what you are losing. But for this example, we'll say that there's 0 opportunity cost. And then let's say that after 3 years now, you want to be selling the car. Let's say that the market value of the car will be $13,600. So it means that the total cost that you would have spent on this car after purchasing it for cash and then selling it for $13,600, you are going to have spent $20,400 on the car, compared to if you were to lease it for over 36 months at an interest rate of 6%. So this is the middle column, and this car is still costing $34,000. And then they say that the residual value after 3 years, it's 50% of the value of the car, which is $17,000. That would make your installment to be $600. And then it means that at the end of the 3 years, you would have paid $20,990. So when it comes to financing, let's say financing is for over a period of 60 months, 5 years at an interest rate of 6%. This will make your installment to be $657. And then let's just assume that after the 3 years, you'd be expected to sell the car. Maybe you are going to find a buyer for the car. So here is an application that shows you where you can input the figures, and it's showing you how much interest you would have paid over the 60 months. And then, but since we are going to be selling the car after 36 months, what will still be owing after 36 months is going to be this is the amount here. It's going to be $14,831, and then which means that we still have a shortfall after selling it for the market value of 13,600, and our shortfall is 1,231, which makes our total cost for having this car for 3 years to be 24,894. So from our example, it seems like the one that's the cheapest is the cash purchase, but we didn't include the opportunity cost. If we had included it, it would be expensive. But here, the second one, which is leasing, it seems to come number 2 at $29.90. And then, but versus the financing option, which is number 3, financing is much more higher because it comes at a cost of $24,894, meaning that for this deal, maybe leasing would have been a better option if one only wants to keep the car for 3 years. I hope that this video was beneficial to you, and it will make things easier now when it comes to buying that next car. Just evaluate all your options so that you don't end up regretting when it's like now year 1 or now year 3. And also just stick to something that you can afford, because remember, when it comes to a car, it's not only just about the installment that you are paying. You also need to be paying for insurance as well. And also sometimes when you are getting that insurance and sometimes an accident happens, you might need to be paying that excess and all that. So also make sure that you've got a good insurance so that you are covered. So also consider all those costs, and also the cost of fuel, the cost of gas. Don't forget about that, because it's also quite expensive. So just make sure that you are in a position to be able to afford that car. And also, if the interest rates do go up, you are in a position to be able to afford the car. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and also don't forget to leave those comments below for me. Thank you for the love. I love you all.